Welcome everybody to the Breakfast Club. The Breakfast Club was formed following 9/11 tragedy. The reason we formed it was to help those individuals that have lost their jobs due to the tragedy. Unfortunately, over the years, due to financial uh, problems in the country, economic problems in the country, widespread recessions, downsizings, the need for the group had continued. Most recently, now with the COVID virus and the crisis associated with it, we never anticipated the level of unemployment and disruption to workers that has occurred. With that, the need for the group will continue. However, with the crisis, until the infection rate and everything comes under control, we aren't even permitted to meet in person, which is one of the real distinguishing factors of the Breakfast Club, because when we meet with everybody and can interact and network directly, there is another level is achieved in connecting with our fellow members. We thankfully, with the guidance of David and Jerry and several others of the team, have come up with this interim solution of video conferencing. And, when the crisis finally permits us returning to in-person networking, we're going to have to develop several changes because first and foremost, we want to make sure that we ensure the safety of all our members. So the reason we switched to the video conferencing in the interim is to make sure that that message is still getting out there. We know that, for those that are in transition, your bills aren't going to be put on hold until the crisis is resolved. So anything that we can do to help people in the interim, all of our other channels, our other social media channels, being our group, which is currently on a Yahoo group, is still can be worked. I strongly suggest people take full advantage of that. The way you join the group is you go to thebreakfastclubnj.com. On our homepage, you click join the group. And as I said, it's a Yahoo group. You just need to supply 3 pieces of information: your full name, your email, and your phone. Once you do that, you become a member of the group. Becoming a member of the group means you now get all of our communications. The way someone can communicate with the group is from the email you joined. You simply send an email to thebreakfastclubnj@yahoogroupsplural.com. Again, that's thebreakfastclubnj@yahoogroups.com. The reason I point that out is, it's very tough during these times to navigate job search. And by putting out questions you may have, anything that's job search or career management related, you can find out things about unemployment, on, benefits, on targeting companies. I would suggest taking your elevator pitch, reducing it to writing and posting it out there. We have over 6,000 members that then receive those messages. And the reason why we set up all these social media channels like LinkedIn, Facebook, the Yahoo group, Meetup, is because our profile is that the bulk of our 6,000 plus members have over 20 years of work experience. Within that, they've normally had multiple employers. So by sending out your messages to them of trying to find out about a company or get a contact at a company, your probability with that many people in a small geography of finding someone that worked there, used to work there, or knows somebody that worked there is very high. And one of the distinguishing factors beyond making the case with your resume, doing a T letter, is getting a personal introduction or reference into the hiring manager greatly raises up the probability of your success of your candidacy in landing that position. So please, by all means, it's kind of like the field of dreams. We built it, but there's not the level of members leveraging that functionality that there should be. So if you're targeting companies, want to find out more about it, the company's culture, between companies, there's different names to the levels and the compensation structures. It's important when you're applying to, have that insider information so that you can target the right jobs specific to that employer that you're targeting. Use that site as much as possible to send the emails. Put the emails out there from an elevator pitch to targeting companies to asking questions that are job search and career minded, and also finally putting out landing notices. In this market, I do see many people landing. In order to take advantage of that, once you land, put out a message as to captures your journey, what was the missing link that you learned that really helped you. And in essence, you'll be helping everybody else. The other thing that it's used for is to share jobs that you come across. So, the Breakfast Club is growing significantly during the COVID crisis. We have a lot of people that are in transition. I'm sure that if I asked, if we were in the room and I asked people to raise their hand, how many people have a problem with, different recruiters getting back to you or giving you updates? I think most of the hands would go up. One way that you could distinguish yourself is to share with the recruiter that you're a member of the Breakfast Club, which is the premier networking group in the tri-state area. Ask them if they have some jobs that maybe they're having a difficult time finding qualified candidates. Ask them to share it with you and offer to post it out on the Breakfast Club website. What that does for you is then you're able to practice good group citizenship by sharing that with your fellow members and opening up new opportunities to them that they may not be aware of. And if as a result that recruiter finds a qualified candidate and helps them land and fill that opportunity, you've strongly distinguished yourself in that recruiter's mind as somebody that has helped them. And then when you call up, they're going to be that much more receptive to help you and, consider you as a candidate for different opportunities that they have. So it's a win-win all around for the recruiter, for you, as well as other members of the group. So, those are the types of things that we try to do. We always try to help our fellow members to the best of our ability to help them be successful. And as you're helping all your fellow Breakfast Club members, you're building emotional bank account with them so that when you need help in identifying, a targeted company, people at that company getting a reference and all, then they're more apt to help you. And that whole pay it forward really, goes into effect and raises up exponentially in the ability of each of us to help all the other members. And the other thing that the Breakfast Club is here is so you don't go through, this very tough time all on your own. These are people, especially our volunteers, who have been there, have gone through the transition, they've been landed, and, they keep coming back to help you. They have landed, they could say, oh, it's one and done, I've landed my job and walk away. But instead, they come every month to help. So they're very special people that we're very thankful for that come here month upon month to help everybody. So take advantage of them, reach out to them. We all say, we give to everybody to the great extent as we can, and we're here to help you. And this is all a pay it forward group. The only time we ever charge anything is when we do get back into a physical meeting capability, we do collect a fee from those that attend the physical meeting, and that basically goes to cover the cost of the hotel for renting the room. But everything else, the Yahoo group, the meetup where you can communicate with everybody, the Facebook group, the LinkedIn group, they're all there for you to take advantage of. So I would say those are the biggest untapped gems to each of you that if you invest the time and mine them. If, for example, after you join the Yahoo group, you'll get an invitation a few days later to join our LinkedIn group. Once you get in there, it's a hidden group. You see everybody else that's in the group. You then have to, one by one, send an invite to each of them. But these are people, again, that have been in search. They know what it's about. They're receptive to connecting with you. Well, one of the key things when you're trying to take an unknown job opportunity and convert it to a known opportunity is having a very strong network. We have people that have over 30,000 connections in LinkedIn on their personal LinkedIn network. By connecting to each of them, you could very quickly and effectively grow your network. So again, avail yourself and take advantage of those things that are out there, and make sure that you're tapping into it and leveraging those resources for the benefit of your job search. And just one thing that I wanted to point out to everybody, because it's an anomaly that I've seen with some of the people during the COVID crisis. If by chance you've been infected with COVID and you're experiencing some symptoms or problems as a result of it, please do not take to social media to posting your personal health issues out there. And the reason being, I had somebody come to me who was a Breakfast Club member, and they were having a very tough time re-engaging. They had gotten furloughed. They were trying to get a new opportunity. They were out there. They were getting interviews, but they were never being selected. And this person was constantly posting out there on their Facebook site that they were experiencing, different medical issues since having contracted COVID. So we explained to the person that, potential employers go out there and they do look at the social media sites in order to, look at additional information on a possible candidate. After they cleaned up the Facebook site, they landed in less than a month. So, be very careful what you post out there on Facebook and these other sites, because it could potentially be the thing that might be hindering you or an obstacle to you landing. So be very carefully, especially during these times. With that, David, I will toss it back to you and Jerry. Jerry will introduce our speaker for today and the topic of the presentation.
Great, thank you, Frank. Just want to let people know one or two quick ground rules. We are going to be doing question and answer, or Q&A. We'll be doing that through chat, and chat is a function from your GoToMeeting screen. In the upper right corner, you'll see a couple of icons. You probably see one of a couple of people with a number next to it, and then next to that, a little like cartoon bubble. So that's chat. So please put your questions there. We expect a large group. We have 79 now, so just keeping the microphones on will be a little too messy and difficult for us. And because a lot of people will be putting contact information in chat, what I ask is, as you type your question, write the word question, maybe even in all caps, right before it. So it might be question, and then put what is the best way you see for networking, or whatever that question is. I will be watching the questions, and every couple of slides, I'll just excuse myself, so I'll let Ashley know that we've got these questions coming, and we will do our very best to answer them. And then also at the end, we'll take questions and answers as well. And so with that, I will turn the meeting over to Jerry Payton, and he will introduce Ashley formally now. So thank you.
Thank you, David. Just to start, I wanted to mention we have an excellent presenter for you today and a very timely topic on virtual networking, which we all have been pushed into and really need to learn how to do more effectively. At this point, let me introduce Ashley. Ashley Owens is the first and only networking concierge that puts you in the right situation or gets you out of the wrong one. As a network concierge, Ashley works as a strategic partner, attending events with professionals as an extension and champion of them at local events and conferences. Starting her career as a personal and executive assistant to 2 celebrities in New York City, her experience in networking grew as she obtained positions in customer service, business analytics, and account management. She has spoken to over 50 network groups, organizations, companies, and conferences, including the coveted Pennsylvania Conference for Women. I'd like to now introduce Ashley.
Hi, everyone. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yeah?
I can hear you.
Lovely. Thank you. All right. Well, I know that you all are waking up at the crack of dawn at 7:30 in the morning on a Saturday, so thank you very much for being here. Just know that my coffee intake has doubled, so just strap in, folks, because today's going to be one of those days where you'll learn a lot. And I'm also from North Jersey, so I'm glad I'm with my people. If I talk too fast, too bad. I know you all can keep up. So today's topic is we're going to talk about virtual networking. Right now, the world is on fire, as we know. Everything's on fire. People are upset. Everybody's got an opinion about something, and apparently everyone is a scientist when it comes to COVID. But what we're going to be talking about today is how to connect with people and nurture that network online. So just to kind of give you an idea of a little bit about me, because that bio was a little old, but these are some fun facts, because why not? Let's self-deprecate before 9 a.m. So, here we go. That's my face. Here we go. So I'm, again, originally from North Jersey. Again, these are just some topics we're going to talk about, just my face. I'm a fast talker. Obviously, we have the best bagels. I know that everyone thinks that New York has the best bagels. You do, but then the Jews and the Italians, they come from New York. They settle in North Jersey, and then they boil, not bake them. So I live in Philadelphia, and I cannot tell you how many people I have to tell that we have the best bagels, and I haven't found a good bagel in Philadelphia yet. If anybody has any referrals, that would be great, because I haven't found a good bagel. I've been here for 8 years. I have no kids. I'm a very, 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 very fat cat, because I don't have any self-control when he cries or snuggles. So if you hear a small child crying outside the door, it is the cat wanting second breakfast. My background, again, I was previously a celebrity personal assistant, which means that I have a lot of therapy bills and a lot of stress. That was in New York City. I have competed in CrossFit competitions about 3 years ago. When I was really good, I could deadlift 225 pounds. I competed. I came in 31st place out of 34, which just means I didn't die. That was the only goal. I participated, got a little trophy. Great. Karaoke Champ 2016, that was in Atlantic City. To be fair, it was my bachelorette party. I am since divorced, so that says a lot about me. I've been in 12 movies as an extra. My background, again, I used to work in film and entertainment. I've been in 12 movies as an extra, so the only cool skill that I learned from being an extra in movies has been I'm able to sleep anywhere. So if I need to sleep against a wall, I can do it. If I need to sleep in small spaces, because you're on set for 18 hours. So you have to eat, you have to sleep, you got to do whatever you got to do. So that's the only cool skill I gained. So travel for me is no big deal. And I once ate a Carolina Reaper. I can see your faces. Does anybody know what a Carolina Reaper is? You can shake your head. Yes, you do. Okay. Yep. And by your face, I can tell that you hate this. Is an awful life choice. It was an awful life choice. A Carolina Reaper is one of the hottest peppers in the world, and tequila was involved. So that's, again, what says things about me. So today, what we're going to be going through is, this is the agenda. We're going to talk about the reality of virtual networking, your steps to get started, knowing yourself and what kind of networker you are, because it's not a one-size-fits-all mentality. Networking is a human-to-human interaction, and everybody reacts and communicates differently. So really utilizing your own skill sets. What's important about this presentation right now, guys, is that you should be able to cherry pick. Not everything's going to fit for your skill sets. Not everything's going to fit for you. So try to cherry pick from things that work for you, because by the time you leave the presentation, you'll have an semblance of a strategy all your own. Knowing your audience, who the hell you're talking to, planning your work and working your plan, and tools and resources. Tools and resources is one of my favorite slides because these are tech slides that can show you how to really automate your networking process without feeling that you are without feeling like you're distancing yourself from people and that you're connecting with. Cool. Next slide. The problem with people. People suck sometimes. So here's what the norm is right now, because the world again is on fire. What norm is that non-essential workers are operating virtually, which means that how are you managing your time? How are you managing the things that you need to do to get the day done? And how are you managing your own career search? Then you've got the people who don't have a clue how to join a webinar, even though they've received emails 4 times with detailed instructions. It's like, scroll down, Bob. I just need you to scroll down just a little bit. Click the link with the blue thing. It's right there. I promise you it's right there. So it's like, so my point in making a joke about that is the fact that people are learning how to engage virtually, which is something they've never had to do before. And if they haven't run their own business before, it becomes a little bit disconcerting because they don't necessarily know anything but their own niche. Or their own niche. So it can be a little challenging with like learning new virtual stuff, and either people are leaning into it and they're learning, excuse me, or they're completely stepping away from it and just waiting for the world to calm down. I just like memes. And then trying to figure out when is it appropriate to reach out to people. That one is a hard one because right in the beginning of COVID, there was a lot of like, do we continue to sell ourselves? Do we continue to sell this product? Do we continue to reach out? And right now, at that time, it was a very, very, very sensitive topic because people were furloughed, people can't eat. There's a lot of stuff going on right now that may, inhibit a little bit of caution when reaching out. So when was the good time to reach out? And then, are pants optional? Folks, I promise you, pants are not optional. They are mandatory. I swear to God, I saw 2 people's butts today, and I don't know why you can't recognize that there's a video there. I promise you, we are adults. Please recognize that your video is always on and that you come at being an acting professional. Great. Cool. Here's the reality of networking. Only people, we're going to start from the beginning. When you build a network, you want to build a group of people, which I like to call a group of champions. And a group of champions are people that will advocate for you when you're not in the room. When you're trying to figure out what kinds of people you want to keep in your group of champions, here are the top 3 things you got to recognize and qualify them as people that you want to keep around. The only people who genuinely care about you are going to talk to you and not at you, not mansplain what your job is, not tell you, oh, you know what you should do? You should do this. Or say, oh, I do what you do. All of these things that you just want to stab them in the eye with a fork, just people who genuinely care are going to talk to you like a human being, okay? Don't ever settle for anything less. Ladies, I'm looking at you. Only people who genuinely care are going to want to help you anyway. They see the value that you don't have to explain to them what kind of value you have. They are there because they want to help you and vice versa. And then only people who genuinely care are going to ask you for realistic favors, not say, hey, would you mind dropping $5,000 on this sponsorship for this virtual event that nobody's going to show up to? Or are they going to ask you, hey, would you mind sharing the status update? I have this new service. I would love your support. That takes there's a difference between a 50-cent ask and a $50 ask. The $50 ask is something that's is bigger, and the 50-cent ask is something that is simple as, would you mind sharing that? So here is a question for everybody here. What is the maximum number of people we can maintain relationships and have social interactions with? Throw your numbers into the chat, folks. Take a guess.
And are you looking at the chat also, Ashley?
Yes, I am.
Very good.
50, 50, 50, 88. Bob, you're close. Steven, I only like 10 people, Steven. I get it. 50, 25. Toya, again, I only like 10 people, but that's not the number. Alex, can you stop cheating? Yes, it's 150. He's seen this presentation before, but thanks, Alex, for ruining my moment. It's 150 people. Now, the reason why it's 150 is because there's a theory by British anthropologist Robin Dunbar. According to his theory, the tightest circle has just 5 people. These are loved ones. That's followed by a successive layer of 15 good friends, 50 friends, 150 meaningful connections, 500 acquaintances, and 1,500 people you can recognize. So people will migrate in and out of these layers, but the idea is that that space has to be carved out for any new people to come in and out of it. So if you exceed 150, a network is unlikely to last long or cohere well. So as you are building up, let's say, a network, sometimes the easiest thing or the best way just to start, especially if you're trying to do a refresh, is to really go through the people that you know, that you like, and that you trust. People that enable you to be better, and people that you know you could call right now and say, hey, I've got this favor. Would you be willing to do this for me, to help me out? That will allow you to start to figure out. It's kind of like Maria Kondo, you know, does this give me joy? So you find a piece of clothing that gives you joy that you hold, and if the next item that you pick up doesn't give you the same joy, then you toss it out. It's the same with people. If they don't give you joy and bring some kind of life to you, then you only have 150 spots, 150 hangers to put some stuff in your closet that can only manage your network. So like the analogy, I gotta work on the analogy, but you guys get the point. The point is that if they gotta bring you joy in a way, they gotta be able to bring you value in some way, and you give value to them at the same point. Cool. Next. My coffee has not kicked in yet. I think it just went straight to my heart. So bear with me here, folks. Oh, story time. This is one of my favorite slides. Okay, so I don't know about you, but I'm very excited that Hamilton is coming down to Disney Plus. But let's just go to story time about some history. So everyone knows who Paul Revere is, right? He's the guy that rode from Boston in 1775. He sounded the alarm, the Revolutionary War. He rode north. He raised the militia. William Dawes did the same thing, but history doesn't remember him. Okay, and the reason why, so the only difference between William Dawes and Paul Revere, one rode north and one rode south. But Paul Revere raised the militia. So the reason why that is important is because according to Malcolm Gladwell's The Tipping Point, he describes that Paul Revere's name became famous. So Paul Revere was an information broker. So this is a person that occupies a key role in social networks by connecting unrelated groups of people. Because he targeted the well-connected people during his ride, his news spread quickly and wildly. Now, William Dawes was not an information broker, so he didn't really know what doors to knock on during, presenting his message. So the moral of the story is take this concept into consideration with your own businesses. If that information, your businesses and your skill sets, okay, but that information isn't delivered to the right people, you may fall into obscurity just like William Dawes. Networking activity is different than the networking that people see. The stereotypical networking. People talk about building relationships. Okay, well, if you're a human and you can speak and you can communicate in some way, you can build a relationship. You're not an idiot. You know how to do this. Okay, we're all adults here. My point in this is that there's different networking activity that breeds the results of expanding and growing your network. So what's important about that is that everything on this slide right here is a networking activity. And then a networking activity, again, breeds those results. So a networking activity is revolved around, let's say, building engagement on your LinkedIn profile. Well, if we even, dissect that even further, what does building engagement mean? That means teaching somebody something specific about your industry, something that is thoughtful, that has some kind of valid, even if it's you commenting on an article that's specific to your industry, you're giving value in some way. You always want to stay in front of your current network with thoughtful content. That thoughtful content is coming from a place of your own expertise. How are you building new professional relationships? Are you reaching out to people and checking in and seeing how you can help them? Not what they can do for you, but how can you help them? Again, it could be as simple as, hey, I saw this video that might help with something that you're working on, maybe some lead generation, or I saw this, this position opened. I would like to share it with you. Can I have your email? Or reaching out to past clients or past employers and checking in with them. Now, I'm saying checking in is going to them and saying, hey, how are you doing throughout this entire thing? Right now is the best time to network because we're all going through some shit, okay? That is a commonality. That is something that you can do, that you can have a conversation with somebody else, and that's the common thing. There's empathy behind that. There's genuine care that can be portrayed through that conversation. Utilize that, and not even taking advantage, but utilize that as a way of reaching out. Are you learning and developing new skills from subject matter experts? That's a networking activity. If you suck at email migration, or you hate lead gen, or you are trying to figure out to put your own training program together, there's no gatekeeper. Everyone's at home in their underwear baking lasagna. Like, there's no gatekeeper. Reaching out to people and subject matter experts right now is the perfect time to do it because people are thirsty for human-to-human interaction. And that's going to expand your network and learn something new about what your craft is. I'm a subject matter expert in networking. I am not a subject matter expert in LinkedIn. I have a lot of great strategies. I am fantastic at the daily, and I utilize it every single day. But you know who is a subject matter expert? My friend Bryn Tillman, who lives and breathes inside that software. That's what she does. That's her bread and butter. That's what she lives on. So when someone comes to me and says, I'm looking for LinkedIn training, I'm going to not turn them away from me, but say, you want to follow what she's doing because that's the best way to be able to get the information that you need. So think of that as you guys are learning from different, subject matter experts. She's competition because she specializes in LinkedIn only, not networking. She does social selling. But then you build that rapport, and then I built that rapport with her for a long period of time. We're such fangirls of each other, and now we share each other's content, and her reach is crazy, and my reach is crazy, and we have the same clientele. So as you guys are building up your own networks, like, put some badass people on your docket because that's going to allow you to grow and get better at your own skill set. And then nurturing your network by staying engaged with their content. Are you liking? Are you sharing? Are you tagging people in this? The reason why I'm saying that that's important, especially on LinkedIn, is because remember how cool Facebook was like 10 years ago where everybody saw everything? Facebook's algorithm is what LinkedIn's algorithm is what Facebook was 10 years ago. So more eyes are seeing your content, more people are seeing your content on LinkedIn, but your content should not be a picture of your cat or you singing, unless you're an opera singer and you get hired by corporations to do. Please don't show me don't show me your walk to the I don't care. You need to have some kind of message that's specific to how you want to be perceived professionally. Nancy, your face is giving me life because everything that I say that's funny, you are cracking up. So I'm just going to stare at you the whole time. I cannot tell you how much I love that. Sorry. Okay, let's just go on. Who to network with? Okay, these are the top 3 people that you should be networking with. These are strategic partners. These are professionals who are in complementary businesses who share the same target market. So a real estate agent and a divorce lawyer are fantastic strategic partners because if somebody gets a divorce, they're typically downsizing or upgrading depending on the agreement. These are people that share the same target market that they can give referrals back and forth. So as you guys are building up your own networks and your own careers, just to kind of give some background, because I know I'm going on a tangent here, but I had 18 jobs after graduation, and I never got fired. It was always mergers and acquisitions and budget cuts, and the only thing that saved me was the network that I had built for myself before I even realized it was a network. And so recognize that there are activities that I kept doing because I wanted to show that I was of value because of self-conscious reasons, but that allowed me to build up this network of people that I could call upon if somebody asked me for something. So start building up these people and maintaining them because that's how you're going to again, the world's on fire. Call in the favors now. So strategic partners, subject matter experts, we just talked about that, and then your current network. If you guys are continuously trying to reach out to some randos on LinkedIn for no reason, there are 84 people on this call today. Have you had one-on-ones with every single person? Probably not. Go for the low-hanging fruit, people that you're already in groups with, already in talks with, and start reaching out to do these one-on-ones, because you have no idea what kind of day you'll make for somebody or what kind of resource you may have that they're not privy to. Everybody right now is struggling, right? We're all struggling to make ends meet, whatever it may be, but you all have resources that somebody doesn't have. So go with the low-hanging fruit, reach out to the people that are already in your groups and start utilizing that network. So now what's important to recognize, especially with communication, right? People can't just go, it's like, networking is like dating, even though I don't really know how to date, because it's weird. It's like dating without the sexy time. It's like getting to know somebody and understanding them from a professional level, but then at the very end of it, if you just talk business, it doesn't make your name memorable. So when you make your name memorable, you're giving yourself permission to engage in a way that's a bit vulnerable. I'm not saying like hash out all of your dirty deeds and like what you've done on the weekends, you know. I'm talking about like, hey, I am actually in need of help with this one resource. Would you have a recommendation? That allows you to start and engaging with somebody on a personal level, but it's all business related. When you talk to as many people as I do every day, sometimes the people can get mushed into one. Picking something out about that person that's memorable, but also you making it easy for you to be memorable to them, is a great way to stand out and to be top of mind. So think of what makes you uniquely you and utilize that aspect. Like, I know my favorite mastermind group people that I talk to, I sometimes forget what the hell they do. I've been with them for 3 years. I'm like, okay, Dave does cloud services, but you know what? He's got great kids, and he's part of this group, and this group. And he can help somebody in tech no matter what. I have no problem introducing him to people in that space, but I introduce him based off of knowing him as a person and knowing that he's going to take care of anybody that I send over to him, even if it's not going to be a referral or a business referral. So people don't get, I'm going to curse again. Well, good morning. It's not even noon. People don't give a shit about what you do. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. What they care about is how you made them feel and what value you can bring to the table. So that in itself takes the pressure off of you trying to sell yourself in a conversation. Your personality is never going to change. It's going to adapt. It's going to hear certain things, but it's never going to change. So why not amplify the things that make you you in a conversation? And that is how you make yourself memorable. And a conversation with the future in mind. I swear to Christ, if you don't follow up, I'm coming for you. Just follow up. Think of it this way. Nobody's going to follow up. Meaning, think of the person that you're meeting as wonderful and as networky as they are. They're never going to follow up. It's your responsibility to follow up. So always take that control and follow up. They may follow up with you, and that's great. It's like Christmas. But think of it as they will never follow up, and it's your responsibility to, because then you will never be disappointed. Then you're controlling that conversation, and that way you have a little bit more of an idea of how what the next steps are. Very, 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 very important. Plan structured next step conversations. Let's say you have a really nice introduction phone call. What's the next step? Are the next time you talk, is it going to be about, going to a deep dive into something that they gave you to watch, like one of their videos? I cannot tell you how many books I get sent by authors. Guess what? I don't read. But you know what? I go there and I share and I read a chapter and I have something nice to say, and of course I will push it. But if someone sends me a video, I will sit there and I will watch the whole thing, because that's how I learn. But the books, it's just a different way of how you learn. How can you give value? If you're never going to read the book, sure as hell talk about it and say, hey, you know what? You got to talk to this person because she just has a book. And you do it in a way that gives value. Okay. Recognize storytelling opportunities. This is one of my favorites because when you tell a story about what your skill sets and what you've been able to accomplish, it's a lot easier for people to understand where your value is. So for example, when people ask me, oh, Ash, what do you do? Well, the 30-second pitch is I train sales professionals and I train sales teams and business professionals on how to network. Boring. But if I go into a conversation and say, hey, you know all those business cards you hate on your desk that you're never going to follow up with? Guess what? I can help you with that. And like you bring kind of an emotion behind it. It allows people to, it's a storytelling opportunity. How many times do you listen to somebody who gives a 30-second pitch that isn't so scripted and you're like, oh, you're interesting. Let's have a chat. Do the same thing. Do the exact same thing. Be that person. Figure out a way that is interesting about what you do, what drives you, and what gives you the passion to do what you do, and put it into a story. What issue you were able to solve, so like a case study. Next. Build a diverse network. I've been doing this flipping presentation for 3 years. I cannot tell you how important it is to be uncomfortable any chance you can get, because the amount of experience and perspective and unbiased views of issues is so important to expand your network. The what's going on in the world today is crazy and it's needed, and there are people out there that are leaning into it and some that are not. I cannot tell you how important it is to diversify your network, because we all network with people that look like us. It is a human behavior. Change the flippin' narrative, because there are so many opportunities now where you can get involved in organizations, in collaboration opportunities. The best and most exciting opportunity I had, I got asked to moderate these amazing women. It was the National Museum of African History. I think it's in Philadelphia. I'm probably botching the name because it was about 2 years ago. But they asked me to moderate this beautiful panel of women. Oh my gosh. And they had amazing speakers. And it was just me riffing in between, just cracking jokes in between, presenters. And I was wildly uncomfortable because it was a very different environment than I've been in. But it was the best, most incredible experience, and I made some great connections. I still work with people everybody to this day, and it was the best opportunity that I've ever received, because I had so much fun and I learned so much. And amazing key players that I just never would have crossed paths with. So diversify your network. For the love of God, do it now. And, when you trade information or skills with people whose experiences differ from your own, you provide one another with a unique and exceptionally valuable experiences and resources. And track the value of networking activities. Okay, so this is important, and we're going to go through some of those tools later on, but tracking the value of your activities is going to save you time and money. If the one group that you're a part of is not giving you some kind of value, or you're not, trying to exacerbate, as much information as you can from it, either you're doing something wrong or it's not a great fit. So when you track the value of networking activities, it could be, hey, from this group, the Breakfast Club, I've been able to connect with amazing people who have shared my content, who've given me valuable resources, and here's the percentage of it. So figure out how to track it, and I'm going to give you a couple tools to do that, but your tracking is going to be uniquely your own. Okay. Boop, boop. Okay, here are some fun pro tips. Here we go. So, number one, on LinkedIn, you can, when we were talking about creating engaging content on LinkedIn, there is something called the number one, it's follow hashtags. There's something called the $80 method. If anybody knows who Gary Vaynerchuk is, he's Gary V. He runs VaynerMedia. There's this great, and I can send this over to you, Dave. There's this great video and article, depending on how you learn, about how to follow certain hashtags and comment thoughtfully. What you're doing is that you're putting your 2 cents on a specific industry topic. So when you follow hashtags on LinkedIn, you can follow, I think, up to 10. You're commenting thoughtfully on different trending hashtags, which means that the eyes are going to be more on the comments as well as whatever the status is on LinkedIn. And that way, again, you're engaging with very thoughtful content. You put your 2 cents up to $1.80 every day. You're getting more connection requests. You're having more conversations. You're building up more activity on your LinkedIn, but you're also opening the door for conversations. Now, again, you don't have to do 100 posts a day. If you want to jump into it and go crazy, go for it, because that's absolutely going to yield results. I'm on LinkedIn every day, and I comment, among other strategies that I use, I comment about 20, and that builds up a lot of engagement and either more followers or more connection requests. Next, everybody is an idiot. I know it's the worst and it's early, but most people are idiots, myself included, without coffee and or tequila. So what do you do to make sure that you're not an idiot? I'm going to talk about this again. Following up. When you follow up with somebody, there should be intent behind it. Nobody's going to follow up. Take that out of your psyche. No one's going to follow up with you. You are going to follow up. That is your responsibility. Take that to the grave. But to amplify the follow-up, a lot of people will say something to the effect of, hey, let me know if you'd like to chat, or how can I help you? These are okay, but think about it this way. What you're really saying with, let me know if you'd like to chat, or how can I help you? What you're really saying is, I did not take the time to think through what I can do for you, nor what you can do for me. I'm going to repeat that. Let me know if you'd like to chat, or how can I help you? What you're really saying is, I did not take the time to think through what I can do for you, nor what you can do for me. We are all professionals. We all have things going on in our world. Make it easy for people to follow up with something specific, not as, hey, would you mind, hey, would you mind sharing this specific status update from LinkedIn? Hey, would you mind sharing this article? Hey, I'm looking for introductions to these 4 people, and after our conversation, I think I'd like to make an introduction to these 3 people. Be very specific about and intentional about how you make introductions and how you respond to somebody, because if you just leave it up in the air, that was not necessarily a wasted call, but you're not thinking objectively and troubleshooting how you can help them, which is really, really, really important, especially if you want to be a power networker. The next is personal versus professional. So you got to acknowledge that conversations right now might be more personal, and that's okay, because this means you're going to have a chance to share, conversations that are more candid and vulnerable, and that is what makes us human. So empathy and kindness are very, 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 very important right now. They've always been critical, but particularly they're very essential right now. And then this is the last one. Avoid the one-time reach outs, aka the virtual coffee dates. So just as going on many first coffee dates in person is not the best use of your time, the same is true of going on a bunch of one-time virtual coffee dates. Make key virtual check-ins recurring so that you are able to get in touch with people repeatedly throughout this pandemic experience. So just as for an in-person coffee, be sure to execute on any follow-up or any homework activities from the conversation. Here are some deep, meaningful business conversation questions. So now that you understand what the $80 method is, which I'm going to give you guys more information about that later on, you're going to get a lot of connection requests. And these connection requests, people are opting in to talk to you. What they're doing is that they are opening the door for the conversation. Let them in. Schedule a 15-minute intro call, whoever they are. Again, they got to align with the people that you are trying to reach out to, but you're going to get a lot of connection requests, so you have the time. We're all at home in our PJs baking lasagna. I'm really hungry, apparently. But there is a way for you to understand there's a way for you to build a lot of engagement and have a lot of good introduction phone calls and provide value, because at the end of the day, it's not necessarily it's not a quantity thing, but the more Bryn Tillman has arrived, oh my goodness gracious. I was just talking about her on her LinkedIn activities. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Anyway, so these deep, meaningful business conversation questions are ways for you to understand, and are ways for you to have the conversation with more intention. So instead of just saying, hey, what do? You know, what makes you special? What's your niche? You know, you don't want to do any of that. What you want to do is you want to be very thoughtful about these questions. So here are my favorites. My favorite question to ask, especially with somebody new that I'm having not necessarily a little trouble understanding their industry, but just really trying to dig deep into what they do, is when someone picks up the phone to call you, what problem are they having? And this could be with a subject matter expert. This could be with Bryn Tillman. This could be with people that are, this could be with subject matter experts. These are people that you're trying to grow and execute a growth in your network. The other one that I love is what industry do you find the most success in? That allows you to identify what kind of industry that they would really want a referral from. It's important to recognize, though, that you may not have that recommendation or that intro, but then you can also say, like, because what industry do you find the most success in doesn't necessarily have to be a referral. It could be an introduction. And the difference between, this is coming from Bryn, the difference between an introduction and a referral is that a referral, you're putting your reputation on the line. So recognize that if you've got these people in an industry that you can make an introduction to, that you have a relationship with them. And the one that might get a lot of pushback, and I'm saying pushback because not everybody can answer this, is how do you educate your audience? The how do you educate your audience bit is more on the marketing side. And sometimes what they'll do is, or some people, what they'll say is, hey, we do these webinars, we do these free lunch and learns, which in your head, that's a great way to say, oh, I love to share that. Oh, or can I, bring some people to that webinar as well? This allows you to give you ideas of how to follow up, especially if they're a part of, let's say they're on the board of something. Oh, you're on the board of TEDx? That's great. How do I volunteer? I literally did that the other day because it's one of my goals is to do a TEDx. And this woman I was having a conversation with, she was jumping into a new position. And we were chatting about women in business, and I was giving her some resources because that's just my jam. And she goes, oh, and by the way, I'm a volunteer for TEDx. And I'm like, oh, how do I get involved? Because I can't just flat out say, hey, I've got enough to be a TEDx speaker. I say, you know what? Let me learn more about this process. Let me learn more about the organization. Are there volunteer opportunities? And that's the way that I can get involved in that space. So just notice that there are ways of getting to, there are better ways of connecting with somebody if you have more information. And these are the questions to ask to really get those ideas to follow up. Okay. I like how you're all smiling with my stupid face. So great. Perfect. All right, next slide, please. Not that anybody's managing this except for me. Tools and resources. Okay, so these are the tools and resources that I use on the daily. So there's a great networking group that I like to introduce professionals to, especially if you do have a job. It's called Centricity. And Centricity is a great organization for people who are networking, but who want to work and network with other business professionals. It's very, very agenda filled. It's fantastic. So when you guys do get your job, think about Centricity. I'd be happy to make an introduction. Anyway, obviously networking tools, LinkedIn, subject matter expert for that is Bryn Tillman. And you guys obviously need to reach out to her, follow her stuff online. She's incredible, and she has amazing tips, amazing videos that she's done a ton of free webinars that can give you tips and tricks on how to reach out to the right people. HubSpot is a CRM tool. A CRM is a client relationship management system. This allows you to capture contact information from your emails, set up tasks associated with these people so your trash brain doesn't forget to follow up, keep people in your system so that way you know in 6 months' time, you said you'd reach back out, and you did. It's a free tool to use, especially on the lower versions that I use to keep track of all of my contacts, but to also put my deals, but then also remember the last time I spoke to them, because it captures everything in your emails. It syncs with Gmail, and it also works with Outlook. Okay, Calendly. This is the tool that I use the most often. And the reason why this is a great tool to use is because it keeps me honest. Calendly is a tool that syncs up with available time on your calendar. Now, if you guys aren't as busy as somebody who is doing a lot of meetings, Calendly may not be the right fit for you, or might be an overabundance. But the reason why I use it, the reason why it's good to use, especially if you're doing the $80 method and you're opening the door for a conversation, for an introduction conversation. Sometimes you get 10 calls a week and you don't want to spend 30 hours going back and forth on an email saying, Friday at 3 works, but then Friday at 3:15 doesn't work. And then it's just back and forth. And then you've wasted 75 years of your life with Barbara, who cannot figure out a Zoom call. Like, it's too much. So with Calendly, it allows you, I'm sorry for whoever Barbara is, but Calendly allows you to sync up with available time on your calendar. And the reason why I like it is because in the link, when somebody clicks on the link, it populates and opens up a fillable form. So it says, hey, what's your phone number? How do we connect? What industry are you part of? To what do I have the pleasure of speaking to you about? Then every quarter, I pull that data and I see where my introductions are coming from. Are they coming from referrals? Because I know Trash Brain Ashley will forget the email or the referral that I got via email from Steve Goodman, who's a very close friend of mine, and he gave me 3 introductions in quarter 1. I want to take this guy out to dinner. Like, thank you so much. How can I reach out to help you? That way it keeps you on top of who's helping you out. It shows you the data of what conversations you're having and where it went. It's a great way, especially, again, if you're doing that $80 method and you're talking to a ton of people, it keeps you honest. It's very, very helpful. The other tool that I love, I don't use often just because I have my own process, but Hio is a great, I know the founder of it. His name is Jason, and Hio is called Hit It Off. And Hit It Off is a application, a free application to use as a user. They are exploding right now because they specialize in virtual networking. And what they do is that they provide you with, as like an event planner, you can create your own event, like a virtual event like this. But then you create your own profile, and then you can see every attendee that's in that joins the session. And then you can send your contact information and communicate with that person throughout it. So, I mean, David, as a, I'd be happy to send you and connect you with Jason, but it's free for event planners to use. It's free for everybody here to use. And then there's the way that they make money is that if you decide to upgrade, they've got really great, they even have push notifications to remind you to follow up because Trash Brain happens again. So, like, there's a lot of great tools to use, but Hit It Off is a fantastic one. And David, I'd be happy to chat with you on that. And there's just no cost to the event planner or to the users. And then Evernote. So think of Evernote as a tool. I use it on my phone when I'm chatting with people and I have to get up and like do something in the apartment, and someone's telling me about what they do and like what they're aspiring to do. I open up a Evernote notebook. So think of notes on steroids. And I use it where I split out my time throughout the week, where on Fridays, I give as many introductions as I said I would give throughout the week. But I go through my notebook and say, and put in like, okay, said I was going to give an introduction to Dave, said I was going to give an introduction to Susie. And it keeps me honest, and it goes from my phone to my computer, so I can open it up and see it and just like fire those things off. It's a great way to save templates. And speaking of templates, I'll show you some in a minute, but it's a great way to use templates, especially when you're communicating with people on LinkedIn and setting up those introduction calls. Cool. All right, you want to see something creepy?
And we have one question. We have one question. This is actually from 2 different people, the same thing. Please clarify the tool Centricity, and who was the woman mentioned, and is it Centricity? So the website I believe is centricitynetwork.com, I believe.
And the woman who runs it, her name is Taz, T-A-Z. I'm going to put my email into the chat as well. So if you guys want an introduction, I'd be happy to. But I cannot pronounce her last name to save my life. To save my life. So her name's Taz from Centricity. And she's lovely. And just make sure you use my name when you reach out to her, because then she knows where it's coming from. Okay. This slide is the creepiest one, and I'll tell you why it's creepy. Has anybody ever taken the DISC assessment before? It's an emotional intelligence assessment. Okay, most of you have. Fantastic. What is important about that? David, I just got your email about where to find the best deals. Thank you. So what's important about the DISC assessment is it identifies ways for you to, it figures out ways of what motivates you to accomplish tasks. So especially if you are trying to figure out, say you're bouncing from job to job and you have no idea where your skill sets are, or you're trying to figure out like what direction you want to go into, the DISC assessment is a fantastic tool to use. This tool that I like to use, especially when I'm training, so what I do is I also train individuals on how to network. So I will run this tool called Crystal Knows on their LinkedIn profile. And what it does is that it shows and suggests what kind of personality that person is. And it also gives you samples and templates on how to talk and how to engage with that person. So if you were reaching out to somebody who maybe has an opportunity, or it's a recruiter or whatever it may be, and you want to make sure that your personality and your, let's say you have a lot of fluff in the way that you speak, for somebody who is a high D with a dominant personality, they want like bullet points, right? And my unicorn brain wants to put exclamation points and post-its and colors and things like that, right? So in order to make an effort about being intentional on how you're communicating, this is a great tool to use to reach out and communicate effectively by using this great tool to do it on their terms. I used it a lot when I was working in sales, so I use this now more working with my clients one-on-one, so I know how to train them. But it's also great to learn, especially if you're reaching out to somebody new or a subject matter expert that might be a little hard to get in touch with. So Crystal Knows, and also gives you, it runs a DISC report on yourself as well. I think it's like $45 a month, something like that, but worth it, especially if you're trying to communicate, even further. So remember I was talking about Calendly and those analytics? I pulled a report, I think back in 2018. I think I had 300 and something calls, right? Because I used the $80 method. Anytime anybody connected with me that wasn't a sales, conversation, it was an opportunity to open the door for a conversation. I would take these calls, 15-minute calls, half-an-hour calls, whatever it may be. I figured I feel life of me for a good 6 months. I'm like, my newsletter is crushing it. It's crushing it. I got videos, I got pictures, give me 3 hours every week. I got one person reach out to me from my newsletter. One singular person, okay? So that means that I had to work smarter, not harder. So I brought down how much I was working on my newsletter, and I expanded the reach, or expanded the opportunities of going to events and making introductions to other people. Now, I got into the habit of always figuring out who's a good collaborator for that person, who might be a good referral, and who's somebody that they should just know. Who's an influencer in this area? Influencer as far as who's very well connected in this area. So that's kind of how I think, but I network for a living, so I don't expect you guys to do that, but just kind of think of the kinds of people that you want to make introductions to and keep in your realm. And I saw that all of the referrals that I was getting back. So 144 calls came from people specifically saying, hey, Ash, you need to meet this person, and vice versa. So I knew where my activity was going. I still have to pull analytics for this year, but this is just to give you an idea of how I was able to see the value in my network using tools like Calendly, so I can work smarter, not harder in those activities. Cool. You guys ready for some LinkedIn templates? These are my favorites. So when I reach out to somebody new, when they reach out to me, then they want to connect. I always say thank you so much for reaching out to connect. I truly hope you and your family are safe and sound during this crazy pandemic. Since we're now connected because they reached out to me, I'd love to learn more about what you do and get to know you better. Hopefully I can provide an introduction or two. Let's set up a time to chat, see if we can help each other. This is 100% not a sales call. And then there's my link to my LinkedIn or to my Calendly. Looking forward to learning more about you. This works 75% of the time for me. I get about 30 connections every 8 days. 30 new connections using like a lot of, I put a lot of content out there. I put a lot of stuff out there. So I get a lot of new connections and I reach out. Not everybody, signs up and wants to connect with me, but if they're reaching out to connect, let me figure out why. Brynn has a great template that she uses that she gave me that I can share with you guys. That's on my page. She does a great job. Of different templates to use, so I'll definitely share that with you guys. But this is the one that I use personally every day, and it works. So cherry pick the stuff that you want. Options. All right. In conclusion, because I'm sweating because I turned the air conditioning off. Knowing yourself, making your name memorable, knowing who you're networking with, those top 3 people, strategic partners, your current network, and subject matter experts. Proactively reach out to build networking capacity, but also look at the low-hanging fruit. You're part of 1,000 groups, start reaching out to people one-on-ones and really deep diving into who they're looking to meet. Planning your work and working your plan. What is your daily, micro goals every day? Maybe Monday, just going through your LinkedIn and seeing who you actually know and who you want to get to know better. Plan structured next step conversations. Like, don't just leave it up in the air, because that's not how you continue to maintain a network. That's how you just slim slammy do whatever you want, and then now you're going up the stream without a paddle. I don't know the analogy. Going up the stream without a paddle, river without a paddle. All right, cool. Failing harder. Thank you very much. Failing harder, failing fast, and moving on. You're going to screw up. You're gonna say some stupid stuff, and you're gonna put your foot in your mouth. Good. Get it over with. Get it over with. Nobody cares. There are millions of people you can talk to. There are hundreds of thousands of people directly on LinkedIn that you can talk to. You're going to screw up, and the easier you figure out how to troubleshoot yourself out of these conversations, the more active you're going to be and the more confident you're going to be able to talk to somebody with any kind of confidence or value. And then activity breeds results, man. Like, if you're not doing anything, nothing's going to happen. So just continually to work on it. There's activities that you can do every day, but do not overwhelm yourself. I literally network for a living, and I'm constantly burned out. I'm personally, as a business owner, working on that myself. So take and cherry pick from the things that make sense for you and start slow. It'll gradually work out. And remember, networking is a marketing opportunity, not a sales activity. So stop trying to sell yourself. Nobody cares what you do. Go and market yourself as the person that you want to be. And that's it. La, la, la. Oh, questions. A lot of tools and resources can be found here on my website. I train professionals as well, but new stuff's coming out. In July, I put together a full training course that's all online with videos that present this kind of caffeinated excitement and energy, but with a lot of quick cuts. So they're just funny and they're very helpful and things. So July is when I'm going to be pushing out that content, so that way you guys can actually get even a deeper dive into training and things like that, or work with me. But that's it.
Wow, terrific. We do have time for questions, so do post your questions in the chat. We'll be checking those in a moment. But Ashley, yeah, you've had much more coffee than me this morning. I will go get my second cup in a little while. But I'm
going to pass out after this. Let's just be very clear about that. I wear myself out like a puppy. That's just how I roll. I get super excited and I just crash. So.
Okay, well then you and the cat can roll in a ball in the other room, and I guess that's what you'll do. Okay. But this was chock full of incredibly important and sensible information, and so thank you so much. What really you're showing us is, as much as some people may be either a little fearful of networking or think of themselves as an introvert, you follow some of this advice. It's really quite simple. and you really have nothing to lose, and you can be quite effective at it. So this was very terrific information. So thank you so much. And also this presentation is being recorded. It will be available online. If not by this afternoon, by tomorrow morning, look on YouTube for the Breakfast Club of New Jersey. There is a question from Jürgen. I don't know if you've got the chat open, or if you do, fine, or I will. This question about LinkedIn templates. Are these responses you pre-program into your message window, or do you just have the text ready to copy and paste into the message reply?
I'm very big on seeing who I'm chatting with, so I always use that as a text reply. So I copy and paste it. I'll sit on my couch at the end of the night and I'll do that, or during the day.
Okay. And by the way, in the chat, I did post the contact name or the name for Taz said Huken, who's the CEO of Centricity. Yep, so that is there. Yep, and for anyone who wants to download the chat, you can do so on your own. The upper left corner of your GoToMeeting screen is a logo GoToMeeting, and that's actually a drop-down menu, so you can click on that, and then you can save the chat log from there. So all this information, a lot of people have shared contact information and suggestions. You can download all those links and information there. And let's see, and Ashley posted again her email address. And Ashley, from my experience, Ashley is very easy to contact, and so thank you for sharing your contact information. So for anyone that would like to follow up, you are certainly more than welcome to. So seeing a lot of nice thank yous. Yes.
This is Frank. I wanted to ask a question. Crystal was something new that I hadn't been exposed to before, so I always like to learn new tools. And one of the things I did during the presentation was a little test. David, with your permission, I would like to speak to it because it involves you. What I did was I installed Crystal, and when I pulled up David's profile, it came up, and the way Crystal was representing David is someone that was naturally skeptical, which I found really interesting, because David, to me, is not representative of what Crystal is portraying from his profile. So how would someone like David then interact with his profile in order to look at how it's being perceived and possibly modify it so that, you know, what is being portrayed by Crystal is more representative of how he actually is?
It's probably, it pulls from the algorithm, and you know, it gives you an idea or a percentage of what it thinks it does. So it's all AI, right? So there is a bit of that can be controlled and some that can't. So it gives you a suggestion of who this person is. I originally, in the beginning of my, you know, taking this assessment back when I took it just randomly, I was a high I, low S. I am now, since I started the business, a high D and a high I, which means that my personality and my adaptation has changed with my environment, but there are still certain things that I will never be good at, like math. So with, you know, the DISC assessment, it gives you a suggested way of chatting, but the only way that he'll be able to really get the right, the most accurate is if he takes the test.
Yeah. See, my
gives you a
concern
suggestion
with these tools such as Crystal is, you know, people start to use them and sometimes apply them in ways that they're not meant for. So let's say Crystal starts to be used by someone who's a recruiter or a hiring manager, and they're now going out using this tool, looking at their potential candidates and drawing conclusions on things like cultural fit for their team based upon what a tool like Crystal is giving them back as far as input. And unfortunately,
HR wouldn't use Crystal Knows as a tool. HR would give you the assessment directly.
Yeah, I know what you're saying, but I'm telling you, in actuality, people are people, and they do different things once they get into some of these tools. And I've seen a lot of tools misused throughout my career. So I would just, strongly suggest people run it on your own profile and look at what it's displaying, and then, dig into it a little, because when tools like this get out there, as I said, sometimes they're misapplied and misused or used for things that they weren't intended. And I'd hate to see somebody, being painted in some way by a tool and then have it in some way hinder their opportunities. So, I thank you for bringing it to my attention, because it was something that I wasn't aware of, had been rolled out in like this. And, I ran it against several profiles, but one that was just strikingly off point in my mind from knowing the individual for so many years was David. And, I would just use that as an example, because many know David and know he's, not painted as what the tool is portraying. And, somehow we have to look at all these different indicators and make sure that we're doing that. And then the other big point that I'd like to make from your presentation is, when we're out there doing the networking, how important it is to not get caught up in a lot of the controversial topics that are going on today, whether it be political, whether it be, even things related to the COVID crisis itself, little things like who's for wearing a mask or not wearing a mask. Because as we, publish things about that, and if, our viewpoints are seen as too extreme, those little tidbits of data stay out there digitally and are something that prospective employers can search on. And when they see different things like that, it could wind up as possibly affecting your candidacy. So please be very careful and thoughtful, proactively as you post things, to make sure, because these things, reside out there in the cyberspace for a significant amount of time.
Frank, the thing I would I'd follow up on your first point specific to the tooling. Remember that AI is being used, for everybody that's on. AI is being used today as part of the video interview process. So if you're going through any type of a video interview, there's AI that's being applied to that as well. So I didn't know about this tool either. I have to play around with it a bit, but just remember that this concept of AI analyzing you is in a number of places. So this is one that you don't even know what's happening, which I think is to Frank's point, that there's tools out there that can what do I want to say? That there's just information out there as to how you could quote unquote be analyzed, and you just need to be more aware of it. So sometimes it's overt, i.e. during a video interview where it's extracting information there. This is a little more covert, where you don't necessarily know what's being done.
Agreed.
Yeah, and in case you're interested, it is crystalknows.com. And I see Ashley also put another link there as well. So you could check that for yourself. Not a bad idea if you can take a DISC assessment or others to see how you may be perceived outside of yourself.
Yeah, and Paul Hatrack, who's a former presenter to the Breakfast Club on multiple occasions, he has a lot of DISC materials if you reach out to him. And
sure, I remember Paul. Yeah, I know Paul. Yeah, I know a few people that do offer DISC assessments. Frank, just hearing what you said, I know you looked quickly. Maybe it's not too far off just thinking about what you said. Maybe me one way, but I tend to do a lot of research. I'm not very impulsive. So maybe that's what that's trying to reflect. Who knows?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. But I think your point is well taken about, there are these tools that are out there. Some people may be using them, and there is a perception that it projects about ourselves. And is that right or wrong? And just be aware of it.
Well,
okay.
that
Sorry?
many people use profile writers, just like
Sure.
they use resume writers. So the profile text and the way it's expressed may not be that of the individual whose name is on the profile.
Could be. So just want to once again thank Ashley for getting up nice and early this morning and getting your coffee pot up and on very early this morning. Thank you so much. Also want to let you know what's coming up over the next month for us here at the Breakfast Club of New Jersey. Next month, our meeting will be on Saturday, August 13th. And Lindsley Mendlin is going to be presenting. He's also a member of the Breakfast Club, and his program is Blockchain 101. And what I can tell you about blockchain is it's a very relevant topic, but much too complex to try and explain in 1 or 2 sentences. So I really can't talk about it much more than that, but it's a very relevant technology right now of linking blocks of data. So Lindsley will be presenting that next month. Now, all of our presentation or our calendar is on the Breakfast Club NJ.com website, and you can look at the speakers page. You can see all of our programs through the end of the year. We've got the end of the year booked. We are actually starting to work on the beginning of 2021, so hopefully that'll be up there soon. And so that's it. And as Frank mentioned earlier, do check us out on our various social media sites. Check us out on our LinkedIn group and Meetup. Yeah.
If I could add one thing, David, please,
Sure.
if you're in transition, take your elevator pitch, put it in an email, send it out like I prescribed to everybody, because with over 6,000 members, we have just shy of 900 are sitting C-level executives, and many people are looking to hire during this crisis. So if you just hit it right and they see that you're looking for a job and you're qualified for a need that they have, it's maybe one of the easiest ways for you to land. So just put your elevator pitch out there. The other reason that's good is because then it introduces you to the other members of the group so that you can start connecting with them. But please take the time to do that. Also, as you're targeting companies, put a message out there. Does anybody have contacts or work at, these 3 companies that I'm targeting? And see what comes back in, qualify it, and then take it offline and correspond with the individuals that get back to you one-on-one. Leverage the group, grow your network, go out to our LinkedIn group, make sure you're a member of it, and then start connecting to each of the members. You're helping those individuals plus yourself. Get the job recs that, maybe you're not interested in pursuing, but would be helpful to other members of the group, and post them out there by sending them to the Breakfast Club NJ at yahoogroupsplural.com. All of these different activities, as you're doing them, you're exhibiting great, group citizenship and helping yourself and others in the group. And really, we've got a great environment here with a lot of our people are, hiring managers, and interface with them and get your brand established and work with them. And, it's a safe environment for you for networking. So take advantage of it, take full advantage of it, because it's all free to you. It's just because, you found out about the group and joined it, and now you have access to all these items. So definitely use it to your advantage.
And also, Frank, these are targeted private groups. The LinkedIn group is only for Breakfast Club members. The Yahoo group is only for Breakfast Club members. So when you communicate with folks in those groups, these are all people that really kind of understand the process and the importance of job search and networking. If you were in a general project managers group with 800,000 people, you don't know that they would even be interested in connecting or helping you as a job seeker. But the good chance in the Breakfast Club groups, whether it's the Yahoo group or the LinkedIn group, these are people that really understand the process of job search.
And make sure you go to Alex Freund's site, landingexpert.com. He has all of the networking groups in the tri-state area out there. We meet once a month, but for example, David runs a group, the PSG, Mercer County that meets weekly on Friday mornings. So find out all those different groups and, become a member of them, and then, participate in their virtual meetings as well. A great way to grow your connections, your network very quickly. And all those networking groups are just like the Breakfast Club in that they're there to help you. They're there to help you grow your network. So take full advantage of all of that. And, all the information on those groups, Alex has put in a significant amount of time of who runs it, when the groups meet, what their focus is. And you can find ones that, are for your industry, for your profession, all different ways that these different groups have been established that, you may find very beneficial to look at some of them and participate in them. So again, go out there, look at that, identify the groups that you feel would be helpful from your own perspective, and then, attend their meetings as well. And I believe right now, due to COVID, almost all of these things are, available virtually. And I believe because of that, free. So for the most part, so take advantage of it and really, leverage it. And a significant amount of your work week and job search should be spent networking and, building those connections and identifying those new contacts leading to new opportunities. So please avail yourself of all these resources that are available.
In that regard, on Wednesday morning, the PSG for Morris County meets every week at 9 o'clock. And this week, Mark Beal will be talking about career and working to get a spot, particularly from a marketing point of view. That's 9 o'clock Wednesday morning, PSG of Morris County.
And then not to forget, I have Abby Kohut coming to our LinkedIn Lunch and Learn Tuesday from 1 to 2. Anyone who needs it, I put the link in the chat as to where it is. Reach out to me. We have a really great time every week. It's Tuesdays 1 to 2. Abby Kohut, maybe you don't know where she is these days. She's going to share some of her new experiences. I hope to see you then.
And so as we wrap up this meeting, I'll actually keep the GoToMeeting session open an extra few minutes for anyone that wants to spend the time when needed to download the chat. And remember, the chat is available to download in the upper left corner of your GoToMeeting screen. It's the GoToMeeting icon as a drop-down menu, and there's an option to save the chat. So let's just wrap up the meeting so I can end the recording, but I'll keep this open. Maybe we'll have a few minutes of virtual networking as well. So once again, thanks again to Ashley. This was just terrific. I just love that you were able to be a part of our group. And Frank, I'm glad that you were able to join us and help us out today as well. So have a good week, a good month, everybody. Do stay safe, stay well, and we'll look forward to seeing you virtually right here next month. So bye, everybody.